Alright, so here's a 372 update video here. Went into it tonight, managed to get my light going, managed to get the flywheel off, heated it, and then got my puller. Figured hell with the crankshaft in it, I'll just get a different one. Like I said, I talked to my neighbor today, and he had 372s. He said he got rid of some parts, he's going to look. Worst case scenario is I pull the 365s. And then I got the clutch off finally. My impact did have enough snooze to get it off. But, so what we did, tore it down. You can see just the piston. First off, I pressure vacuum test. I didn't get any readings. I couldn't draw any pressure whatsoever. And then everything was sealed, but I couldn't draw any pressure or vacuum. And so what I ended up doing is just pulling it. And what I found was on the piston here, it's all wet inside from soapy water, so it was getting in somewhere. I think I had an air leak on the cylinder head gasket is where I think it was. That's where I think I had my issue. I don't know. If you can look here on the piston, let me turn it upside, or the cylinder, sorry. If you can see right there in the transfer, those are all soapy bubbles on the transfer right here. Those are all soapy bubbles. It's wet all inside from water, from the soapy water. Same thing with the crank. Everything was sealed on it, like I said, so it had a leak somewhere. You can see the gasket on it. The gasket looks pretty good. I don't see any like real big right there. I'm thinking maybe right there I had an air leak. Maybe it was because I can pull that up. I'm thinking maybe there. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait, find out if I'm gonna get a crankshaft from my neighbor, or if I'm gonna need to tear the 365. I'll sacrifice it because I use the 372 the most. But what I'll do is I'll get a new crankshaft. Once I get that, have that in my possession, I will go and order from Bailey's, order new OEM main bearings. I'm gonna order an NWP gasket kit, and that'll be oil, it'll be crank seals, cylinder gasket, crankcase, the case seal for it. I'm gonna look at my intake boot on the car, so you got on the piston or the cylinder there. I might get a new intake boot. But I'm going to look at that, and then I'm going to get a new set of NWP rings, re-ring the saw or the piston, and then probably get a new bearing for above on the crankshaft up here on the piston. And then I'm going to get a new blue wire here, because underneath here I had to use a butt lead to get the end on because it came off. Get a new blue wire, and then I'm going to get a new rotor for the starter cover on it. The one I got is a little worn, a little bit of slop in it. But then I'm going to get the crankcase splitter. So what I'll do is I'll split the case, take the piston off, clean the carbon off the top, clean it up, re-ring it, put a new main bearing in it, but split the case, get the old seals and bearings out of it, put new bearings in it, put new seals in it, put a new crank seal. I'll get the case splitter, and then I will go and buy the crankcase installation tool. It's nice. I could probably get it on there with once you get if you get it down on there enough and you get the bolts in, you can just cinch it up with the bolts. But I'll call Myrtle Creek Saw Shop and see how much that is. But like I said, I'll reseal it, new main bearings, re-ring it, get it all cleaned up. I'm going to take the carb apart and clean the carb and see maybe if I had any kind of crap in there, maybe put a new carb kit in it and everything. But I'll put a new impulse line on it, The one I've got that's on here is pretty stiff. Not terrible, but I'll just put a new one on. Get all this pretty well set up, and like I said, this is OEM. This is all OEM. That's OEM carburetor. That is a true Husqvarna 372 XP non-X-Torx 50 millimeter. I think this has the 1.2 millimeter the thickness on the rings. It's not the 1.5. It's the 1.2 millimeter, I think. Rings on it, OEM rings, OEM piston, OEM crankshaft. It has a true OEM cylinder and everything on it. Looks really good. If you can, I'll turn my light back on. If it'll ever stay running. What the heck was that? I have nothing but trouble with lights, so I'll get my other one out. It probably won't stay going. If that camera will focus and I get the light off of it, kinda, you can see no scoring on it. Rings are free. Get on the exhaust side. Exhaust side looks really good. Cylinder, no scoring. No scoring on intake. You know, really good looking. I was kind of interested to see how they would look. You know, I've run the saw a lot. You know, it's been running for probably close to 5 years now on this rebuild. It ran for about 2 years just bone stock, and then ran for about 3 years bone stock, and it's been running for close to 2 years with the mods on it. No, I take that back, actually. Now that I think about it, it's only been running, it hasn't even been running a year with the mods on it. I did the mods to this, the dual port muffler and everything, in February of 2015, so it's been on there, but it's had a good break-in, and it looks, I mean, no scoring whatsoever, no scuffing, looks really good. Did never get too hot. I was kind of worried about it maybe getting too hot, and it didn't get too hot or anything. It looks really good for that. I'll go, and when I get the case split, I'll clean everything real good. The tank will come off. I'll just clean it all really good with carb cleaner, and then probably get some parts washer and clean it really good. And then, like I said, what I'll do is, if I get a crankshaft from my neighbor, that'd be good. If not, I'll split the case in the 365 and sacrifice it. Where this saw was made or built was in Virginia, and I had a bunch. I don't think I could probably get anyone back there to send me a crankshaft for it, though. But I'll do that. I looked at new crankshafts, and OEM. There's a deal on Bailey's, an OEM crankshaft, main bearings, and clutch was $240, and then just the for an NWP crankshaft was $139.40. So this one would probably still work on it. You know, like I said, it's cracked there a little bit, but the nut goes on it. Once I split it, I'll have a little bit better knowledge of it. But if you can tell, I wiggled, and you know, you want, as just a beginner note for people that may watch this, grab your piston, and your piston will move side to side, but you don't want it to move up and down, you know, on the bearing. And this has no play up and down whatsoever. I mean, it is nice and tight. Cranks tighten it. The bearings are still good in it, but I'll just place them. But what I'll do is I'll split the case, clean it real good. Either put maybe put that crankshaft back in it. If not, put a different one in it. Put new main bearings in it, new seals, all, you know, seal the whole saw. Maybe a new intake boot. Put new rings on the piston, and put everything back together on it. Break the rings in good on it. Break it in good. test it for air leaks. I'll put it back together and test it for air leaks, make sure I don't have any leaks on anything. Once that is all bolted back up and everything, it should run a lot better. It'll eliminate air leak and everything, and then with new rings, I'm sure it'll make it run better, a lot more compression, and make it a good saw again. But then I'm thinking about maybe going and taking the cylinder gasket off and just putting a real light coat of Permatex gasket maker on it, and heat resistant, and then that would bring my squish up on it a little bit. I don't know how many thousandths it'd bring it up. The base gasket's not a whole lot, but you could eliminate that. It'd bring the squish up a little bit. That'd increase compression a little bit. I'd probably make it run. That'd be pretty good then. And, that'd be about all you could do to it without doing any porting. It'd have the dual port muffler, unlimited coil, 8-tooth sprocket, base gasket removed. That's kind of just the basic, stuff you can do. You can't, unless you're going to get into, porting the cylinder or advancing the timing. I'd like to advance the timing on it. I just don't know how, and I don't have the time. This is killing me right now, having this thing all tore apart. That's why I'm trying to get it done as quick as I can, because the 365, it doesn't, oil, and I've got the 455, which is in the 200. I was using it today, and I've got that, but it doesn't have a 32, and I've got a 4-foot fur I need to buck up for a neighbor, and can't do that because I don't have my big saw, and 455 won't even come anywhere close, and like you said, 4-foot fur, so and my 455 won't run a 28 either. But I'm gonna try to get this going, and like I said, I could probably buy a new saw, but I just figure I'll put some money in this, and if the cylinder and piston be in good shape, it'll be good to go. But another thing I was going to show is I'll show you all the model number here, so y'all believe me. If I can ever get my camera to focus, it does not like to focus. I'm going to try filming with an iPhone 6 here before too long. My mom's got one. I'm going to try filming with it, because it's a lot better. 372 XP, there's all the model number and everything like that on it. You can see so it is just a regular XP. You can see on the exhaust, it's just a regular XP. It's not the X-Torque or anything like that. You can see on the piston, on the transfers on it, it's just the standard. It's not the X-Torque or anything like that. Case looks good down in there and everything. So yeah, it's just an XP. It's not the X-Torque. It's non-X-Torque. Just to clarify that for y'all now that I got the piston off. But that's what I've been up to, and did all that here within about. I've tore this saw down as little bit by little bit, but to tear this saw down to cylinder off the piston with a drill, and I didn't even have the long enough bit. I had to do a lot of it by hand with an Allen wrench. It'd take you. I could have this saw tore down to that in about 10 minutes. These are the 370, 365, 372, 385, 390. Those are some of the easiest to work on saws I've ever been around. They're really, really easy. These are one of my favorite saws to work on, better than Stihl or any of them. They're, especially the 372, really easy to work on and everything. And on another note, I'm thinking about trying to make somewhat of a V-stack for this. You can see here's the carburetor. It's got just a little stack on it for the air filter. What I'd like to do is find something that'd stick up to where I could put a green weenie on it. Put a green weenie on it, and then just take a top cover, cut it out to where the green weenie could come out the top, and then that'd give it a lot more air, and that'd make it run a lot cooler and everything. and I'd really like to do that. I'm going to look into it to see if I can find something for it. I'd really like to get an actual velocity stack on it, but I can't find one. You gotta, like on the 288s, their carb, instead of just being the square carb, their carb came out and then it had a flat bowl on top with 2 studs coming out, so you just put a regular V-stack. On this, it'd have to be a V-stack that's like the black part here, the air box. It would have to be one that came out and then went up, so you'd almost have to weld something on it to make a V-stack for it. But I'm going to try to do something for that, maybe see if I can get a green weenie set up on it, and then that'd be a pretty doggone good saw. Other than porting and advancing the timing is about all that's left on the table for this saw, and I don't want it zipped or anything like that. I don't race or anything with it. I just want it for a work saw and firewood cutting. But that's what I've been up to, and we'll keep you posted and everything, and hopefully I get a crankshaft of some kind here. But thanks for watching.